You're listening to What Do I Know with me, Joanne Pei. And if you're only just tuning in, you're in luck because you now have got 2 seasons of the podcast to binge listen to. Yay! In our season finale, which is also the final part of our International Women's Day special, I am talking to Melisa Wong, the executive director of Babes, which is a non-profit organization committed to ensuring that every pregnant teenager in need of support is aware of the options she has and given the opportunity to make an informed decision with regards to her pregnancy. Steering clear of judgment, I believe that these pregnant teenagers have to navigate a very difficult journey. And whatever they decide to do eventually takes a lot of courage and strength. And that is why I've decided to dedicate this episode to this group of young women. We are talking about a very taboo subject today, teenage pregnancy. And just to be clear, I'm not here to make a stand. I'm really just here to learn more about the struggles that these young women may face, as well as the work that Babes is doing. I know it can be uncomfortable for some of you, and although I would urge you to keep an open heart and mind, this is probably the point where you want to stop listening if you think you're not going to like what you hear. But if you're still tuning in, good, because let's dive right into this conversation with Melisa Wong. Hi, Melisa.
Hi, Joanne.
Thank you for being on the show. And just to give a bit of context to some of my listeners who might only just be tuning into this episode, I started this podcast because I really wanted to be able to ask questions and to explore topics that I'm, curious or unfamiliar about. But the biggest satisfaction for me is to be able to have conversations that you don't normally have or hear about in the mainstream media. So today is going to be one of those topics. And I understand that you graduated with a bachelor's in social service from NUS, right?
Yes.
And you've been in this industry, working on various community and social service programs for more than 20 years. But you somehow found your way into doing work for single-parent families as well as now with Babes. What led you to where you are today?
I guess in my course of work, I've been able to experience even seniors, arts, environment, and I guess family and children kind of is my passion or stood out to me along the way. And I guess with parenthood, that kind of speaks out even more. Yeah, so I've been Babes for about 2 years. Yeah.
And before that, you were also sort of helping single-parent families, isn't it?
Yes, correct. So that was a pilot program with the National Council of Social Services because I think we do see a trend in terms of more single parents pre and post COVID and all. So that was a program that was out to kind of support single parents. Could be unwed, divorced, separation, widowed. So both men and women.
All pretty challenging, challenging relationships that people have. And today we are focusing on teenage pregnancy. And we should probably start with why teenage pregnancy can be an issue.
Right. So, if you look at teenagers, the age that we're looking at probably is 13 all the way to 19. So, in this phase, in this season, most would still be studying. Yeah. So, if you're studying and there is an unplanned pregnancy, it kind of is a disruption. And with that disruption, what it means is that they probably will not be able to complete their studies to at least achieve the next level. Could it be even O levels, N levels, or even IT diploma, so to speak. So, with that, what the impact could be is probably the economic, like the kind of jobs that they will end up with. Should they choose to continue with their pregnancy? Yeah, so of course there's also other implications because being a teen, your body is not ready to take on the pregnancy. Yeah, so there could be health complications with it, not only for the mom but also for the child.
Oh,
yeah.
How does that?
So for a teen, if you're not ready, probably you might not have. You're still developing and growing, so your hips and all might not be ready to take that on. So natural birth might be an issue. Yeah, so probably you might need a C-section, which will require a longer recovery. And there could also be chances of premature baby. Yeah, because the body does not have enough to support the pregnancy. Yeah.
So what does Babes actually do?
So what we are here to support our pregnant teens. So we do have a 24-hour helpline. So anyone, be it the teens, the mom, the partner, could always call in or text in. Yeah. So this is where it's the first line of support. So whoever is pregnant or not sure how do I even determine I'm pregnant, this is the line that they could call or text. Yeah. And then from there we would look into the different situations and see how we could navigate and journey with them. The support could end at the helpline, or it could continue into case management, meaning we have our social workers to speak to the teen, and then also their immediate line of support could be their family, their friends, or even their partners on their decision. Yeah.
I mean, the process can be as quick as you said and ending at the hotline, or it could actually be quite long drawn, isn't it?
So even on a helpline, it may not be even instant. It could probably take a few days or a few weeks to end it. But of course, at the case management level, it could probably take 6 months or even a year and a half or two. Yeah, depending on the situation, because every individual has a different environment and we kind of need to work around them.
But do you actually see a pattern with the people who call for help?
So in terms of helpline, we receive kind of about 300-ish a year that inquire about pregnancy-related issues. So most of them who kind of call in or text in, the inquiry is about abortion. So teens themselves may already know of what is the outcome or decision that they want to make. So sometimes turning to the helpline could be more like information or a source of affirmation on the this is where I want to go and what I want to do. Yeah, so at least having that right resource to know where to go to. Yeah.
And what are some of the misconceptions that these pregnant teens may have about their pregnancy or their situation?
Yeah, so some of the misconceptions that our teens would have is that they might not even know that they're pregnant. Or even probably if let's say they had sex the day before, they would kind of text in, I think I'm pregnant, what should I do? But after having sex, they probably need to wait for about 2 weeks before they could ascertain whether they're pregnant. Okay. And sometimes they could probably ask, how do I go about it? Like probably they may not know that they could purchase a DIY kit. Yeah, and sometimes probably needing to take it twice instead of once to ensure their accuracy. Yeah, and of course there's also things like contraceptives. Yeah, so they may or may not know what to use or how to use it, and even negotiating with their partners on it. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. And then you provide advice on all of that?
So we would check in with them. I mean, if you want to verify your pregnancy, I mean, we would check like when was it that you had sex? And sometimes they would go into details, sometimes they don't. Yeah, so at times, probably, I mean, just to share a bit further, the guy may not have ejaculated, but they think that they had. So I mean, these are things that teens themselves may not know. How can one conceive?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you get more calls from girls or boys?
Also, it's a mix. So we do, of course, most of the people that call in are the teens themselves, but we also have parents, like mothers or fathers, who actually do call or text in, and even concerned partners, meaning their boyfriends.
Okay. And what are some of the common challenges that these pregnant teens face?
So the first thing will be knowledge, because with the lack of knowledge, they may not know who to turn to. So even probably Googling or finding for our helpline, sometimes it may not be themselves. It could be through their friends or family members that text in. Yeah, so that's one. Then the other would be probably confidentiality, because I mean, if you're looking at the legal age and all, there are legal implications.
Right.
Yeah, so if you are below 16, it's considered rape. Yeah, so I mean, of course, there's this confidentiality when they approach us, because we are here to see how we can support you. So on the first onset, we will not ask what's your age and stuff like that, but what is it that you need support in, and what's the issue that you're trying to resolve? Yeah.
So what are some of the common issues that they have?
So the other one would be financial, because they'll probably need to go purchase the DIY kit, and should the DIY kit shows that it's positive, the next step will probably need to go to polyclinic. So I mean, if we look at the public healthcare system, we usually need to go to polyclinic before we can get a referral to the hospital.
Right.
Yeah. So depending on your age, at the hospital or clinic, there's the obligation by the doctor to report this to the police should it be someone who's underage. Yeah. So there is this fear from the teens themselves. Yeah.
How do you? I mean, counsel, is that the right word? Like, how do you? Yeah, counsel.
Yeah, so it takes a while to get to them to allay their fears that, this is what you kind of need. I mean, you have to at least verify your pregnancy. Right. Because with that verification, then we'll kind of know what's the next step. Because if you do your DIY test kit and let's say, for example, it shows negative in the first week after you had sex, that may not be the most accurate. And then next step, if you do miss your period, for example, that's another red flag that probably you could be pregnant. Yeah, then you miss again. Then that would probably be 4 weeks or 8 weeks into the pregnancy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine that for the fact that they are calling the helpline is really because they are afraid, right?
Yes.
And they don't know what to do about their situation.
Yes.
And to, how do they overcome the fear then?
So there's a lot of prepping them, to get that support. Like, is there a friend that you could turn to? Is your partner supportive? Would you be able to share this with your mom, your dad? So this journey kind of could take a few days or maybe a few weeks.
And what is the usual answer? Yes or no?
So they would try, and they would be able to identify who's closest to them, because by bottling it up on their own and just sharing it with us, there is no one that's closest to them that they could get support from. So with that support, they are actually able to move. So we do have some who have actually shared it with their parents, or maybe the mom or their dad, and they can get that support. So then they actually say that actually, it's not as bad as how I think it would be.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I really want to go into that, but maybe later on. You said earlier on that a lot of the teens who call, they already kind of have a decision on what they want to do.
Yes.
According to your website, it says that 85% of them choose parenthood. I mean, to be honest, I am quite surprised. Because I can only imagine how daunting it is. I mean, for me, being a first-time mom, I think
An adult, right?
it's hard, you know, and the whole idea of being pregnant and then you have to be responsible for this human being for the rest of your life. And I would assume, correct me if I'm wrong, that it's for them, it's usually in the absence of a husband or a partner.
So it would be mixed. So some of them do get married. So depending on what age.
Right.
Yeah. So some of them may be married to the natural father of the child. Some may not be.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, there could also be some that have their parents or in-laws support.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a mix.
So, which is why I think it's very daunting. But yet, you know, a lot of them choose to keep the baby. Why do you think that's so?
It could be a few reasons. So I mean, the trends that we are seeing in terms of teens being parents themselves, meaning they deliver the child and be a mother or father, that is probably in the last few years. So previously, there were actually some who actually chose adoption or fostering. But of course, that is also dependent on the stage of their pregnancy where they are at. Yeah.
What are the consequences of teens who decide to go with this decision of keeping the child?
So what it means is probably they would need to have a gap year for school. Yeah,
Right.
because what it means is they will need to be able to find people to care for the child while they're away. So it could be either putting in infant care, or do they have support from their parents or their in-laws or their partners to care for the child while they go back to school. So all this could take some time.
I mean, it does sound like a very stressful period of time because, like you said, a lot of them probably have to take gap years from their education. And
Yes.
it also means that they probably haven't entered the society to work.
Yes.
So they don't have a regular source of income. They probably haven't built up enough savings also to be able to support their child in
Yes.
all the expenses that they need, right? In whether it's childcare or your basic, like your diapers and your milk
Yes.
powder and all that
And
stuff.
at times, even the family themselves could be struggling. So
Yeah.
having an additional mouth to feed also causes stress within the family.
Yeah. So, how do they cope?
So I mean, we do have support. Thankfully, we do have our partners and donors. So we
Right.
do support with them with our milk and diaper program for those who choose to continue to parenthood. And of course, for those who go back to school, we also have our bursary program to encourage them, so that at least it could give them a bit of pocket money, and so that they don't have to work part time. Because having to work part time to look after your child and to manage your studies, it's really additional stress.
It's so, I can only imagine it's so hard. And would you say that usually they have support for people who choose parenthood eventually? They have support in one form or another.
Yeah, so sometimes it can come in really early where they have their parents' support even before they deliver that, we will support you in this decision. But there are some who take quite a while. Like even after the child is born, the parents may not be there for them. But as with, having babies and all, it kind of, the grandparents will eventually support their child and the grandchild. Yeah, it's just how long it might take. Yeah,
Okay.
so we do see more families coming together with the child, and also the mother herself maturing because of the responsibilities that she has to take.
Has this changed? Because you talk about this happening in the last couple of years a bit more. What was it like before?
So before, we do have a bit more that kind of chose termination or even adoption. But of late, most of the cases that we handle, close to, probably 95% choose parenthood. Yeah.
What has changed, do you think?
I would think probably it's the resources that's available, or rather society. I think we're more open to having single moms and all, because I mean, there's also, like, the child is not at fault.
Right.
Yeah.
What do these single moms actually need?
I would say support. Yeah, because without that support, if they feel alone, they will not be able to go through this journey. Yeah, so of course, having that non-judgmental and respect for the individual and her choice. Because whether are you a teen mom or a adult that has an unplanned pregnancy, you go through the same struggle. Yeah, because I mean, if you're unwed, you still get judged. Whereas being a teen, I mean, you're kind of still a child. Yeah, so you're still growing, developing, and maturing. You do not even have the resources like what you mentioned, right? They haven't even stepped out to work. So they are still dependent on their parents and family. Yeah, unlike adults who at least have a source of income. And so we provide them with all options, and then from there they make their decision. So it's like, if should you choose abortion, then this is what it looks like. If you choose parenthood, caring for your child, and then we kind of walk through with them, like, at least think about what happens in the next year or two. How would that look like to you?
Okay.
Yeah, and then from there they make that decision.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
how long is this relationship that they have with you?
So it could be, I mean, the longest is about 1.5 to 2 years. So even though we kind of stop case management, we still involve them in other programs like our bursary, or when we have events, we still invite them. Yeah, so there is still this touch point.
Do you see anyone coming back for more help or anything like that?
So sometimes they do come back again because of a repeated pregnancy or abortion.
Like a repeated unplanned pregnancy?
Yes. So that happens. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, okay, this other question is like asking about should we try to prevent
So
unplanned pregnancies?
I mean, at the clinics, because for teenagers, after their first delivery, there will be counseling and, of course, encouraging them to take on contraceptives. So for teens, there are different options, so depending on how comfortable they are.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in a time where it's like a big no, right?
Abstinence.
Abstinence from sex, and if you have sex with this one person, you better marry him, right? And yeah, and if you are pregnant before you get married, it's people judge you, people look at you differently. But now it seems like it's not so bad. I guess you start seeing people having babies and then they get married, right?
Yes, that happens. Yeah.
And perhaps society is also a little bit more open now,
For sure.
than before.
It's more like, I mean, the individual should have that ability to make that decision based on the information that he or she has, and be prepared for it. Yeah, because I mean, we do have girls who kind of chose that but do not see through it.
Chose that meaning what?
Choose, for example, they choose parenthood, meaning they want to keep the child, but then after 1 or probably 6 months down the road, they go back to their old ways and leaving the mom to care for the child. Yeah, so it's having really that grit and resilience to see through your decision.
It is hard because
Yes.
even for myself, I have to admit that I never knew motherhood was so hard. You know, until I mean, my children, they are 8 and 6 now, and when I was a bit younger, I've always dreamed, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna have like kids, and I'm gonna have like 4 children and this and that. And then I've come to realize that that visual image stops at that. You know,
That's the cute age,
that infant age. I never imagined that they will grow up and then they will start having complicated emotions, and then they will start dealing with all the, all these different challenges that I'm facing now with my growing children, right?
Yeah.
So I think motherhood is really hard, and for myself, so I can only imagine how it's going to be like for them when they're still growing, they're still facing a lot of
adolescence of self-identity.
Yes,
and now I'm
exactly.
They're struggling with that as well. Yeah.
So I do admire that there is some form of support that's given to them, so at least they are not feeling helpless. And I suppose what were some of the things that could happen if they didn't have the support?
Yeah, so I mean, if we are looking for so we do have teens who, for example, call in and they kind of would like to abort, but they have that fear of going to a medical institution or even informing about their parents. So they do self-harm and try to terminate. Yeah, so this is the part where, there could be no support, no knowledge.
Right.
Yeah, but for those who kind of choose parenthood, they may come to us at a very, very late stage. So they may not be prepared. So we kind of need to also prepare the home environment so that there's safety for the kids. And the mom, so that they grow up well in the environment with the support of the family. Yeah.
I mean, are there any sort of discrimination that these single moms, face?
Yes, for sure they do. I mean, if you are very young and you are pregnant, definitely even just on the streets, you'll be judged. So I mean, we do have some girls who shared that, they do get snide remarks. Yeah,
For example?
from members of the public, like, you're so young and you have like 2 kids, things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Have you heard of any stories that your service users have shared with you about the struggles that they face?
Yeah, so even sometimes at school, they kind of keep it hush-hush. So there are some who don't even tell their friends that they have a child. Yeah, so these are the struggles that they face in school. I mean, if you're at that age, you would definitely have a group of close-knitted friends, you will hang out and all, but many a times they are unable to hang out because they have that responsibility to go home and care for their child. Yeah, so being not able to share their real identity, their role with the people they spent most time with in school can be quite, very, very challenging.
And then how do they cope?
So I mean, that's where we would encourage them if they have a close friend that they could share with, or even the teachers, because I mean, depending on which level they are at. Yeah, because I mean, if you're in secondary school, it might be a bit tricky. Yeah, but at tertiary level, some of them are more open. Yeah, so they do share that with their friends or even their class tutor or form teacher, so to speak. Yeah, to get that support.
And usually, does it work?
Yeah, it does. So I mean, for us, we also work very, very closely with the schools.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we'll encourage them that if you're going to be in this environment for the next few years, there has to be someone that you can turn to. Yeah, because I mean, if your kid is unwell and you need to be home, I mean, as with working moms, that happens. Let alone if you are in school and you have a child, who's going to attend to your kid if not yourself? So these are some ways where the classmates, they are very helpful. They do take notes for them.
Oh,
Yeah. So having that support even within school.
So would you say that sometimes we think that people around us wouldn't understand and they would not accept, but actually, if when you advise your service users to sort of open up to the people around them, that the response that they get could be surprising.
Yes.
Is that how it works?
It does. And I think there was a school that actually did the fundraising for one of a teenage mom. I mean, that is not our client, but really, I think people are more empathetic these days. Yeah. Because I mean, if you are looking at the real need, it has to be addressed or supported. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We talk a lot about teenage moms, and we also often relate teenage pregnancy with the young girls. Shouldn't it be a shared responsibility between both parties, to be fair?
Yeah, I mean, it takes 2 to clap, but it depends on whether the other half is in the picture or not. Yeah, so sometimes the partner may not be in the picture or may not even know about the pregnancy. Yeah, because the relationship could already have been broken off already.
Why is that so?
So we do realize that our teens could be in multiple relationships. And this is the definition of being a relationship is very, very different.
Oh, tell me about that, please.
So I mean, we've heard from a teen that it could be a week, a month, and they kind of call that a relationship. It's very much, I mean, for me, I'm born in the 80s, right? So it's like, then it's like probably by years, not by weeks or days. Yeah.
Right.
So what is that definition of a relationship to them and what it means about being in a relationship? Yeah. And the whole intimacy and stuff like that. Yeah.
Tell me more about this part, based on sort of your cases and what you've gathered from these young men and women, actually.
Yeah, so I mean, we do have some of our teens who they have a partner who could be slightly older than them, or they are fearful. So when they are in a relationship and they want to get intimate, they are afraid of them, and sometimes they may be abusive. So there's a bit of sexual coercion or power imbalance. So they are afraid to say no.
Okay.
Yeah, so that could result in a pregnancy.
Right.
Yeah, so what's a healthy relationship, what's not, how to say no, these are things that are hard to navigate.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would you consider to be a healthy relationship then? Or what would you advise a young woman today, for example? How do you have a healthy relationship?
So that we respect and open communication.
Right.
Yeah, which is important because I mean we have to respect each other, not only I mean on the physical, but really I mean as an individual. If he or she says no, then it's no. Yeah, and of course that communication about what is it being like in a relationship. Yeah, that's very different these days. I mean, you can still be dating another person, so does it mean that you are in a relationship? Is it mutually exclusive? Yeah, so there has to be that common understanding.
What is the definition of a relationship for them now, in this day and age? I'm curious too because, I mean, I'm also born in the 80s, right? And being in a relationship means that you
Commitment.
Yeah, you commit to someone. You don't be with someone and date someone else, and you don't do that kind of stuff, right? You just like you commit to this person and you hopefully marry this person. I mean, at least that was my
you
time.
date to marry.
Yes, you date to marry. But I'm very out of touch also with what the young people these days are like in terms of having a relationship. So maybe you can tell us more.
So I mean, how we see it is that they kind of do move on quite quickly. Yeah,
Okay.
but also I think what they do as a couple and what does it mean being in a relationship, that could have changed. Yeah, and we do see a trend in teens getting sexually active at a much younger age.
We're talking about how old?
13, 14. Yeah, so the youngest service user that we have is actually 13 years old. So we also have seen that trend in terms of youths getting into relationship at a much younger age. So these days, like probably in upper primary, 11, 12. Yeah, unlike in the past where it was slightly older.
Why is it so?
It could be social media and what's out there. I mean, definitely these days there's much more access to the internet and most youth will have a device. Yeah.
Right. And well, what's that correlation between device and being in a relationship?
So I mean,
young?
there's all this media, the romanticizing and what is it like. So I mean, being
Right.
teens, having that self-identity, being in a relationship could be seen as cool. And if they have had sex, it could be something that they do talk about. I mean, among the guys or girls.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe we have had teens who shared that they get information from their peers. I mean, we've done studies at a tertiary level.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where they talk about it, but not to their parents, of course, or their partners, but mainly among peers.
How do you then deal with it? Because like for yourself, you come from a different generation, right? And a different concept of what a relationship is. And then when you face like someone who comes to you and tells you about, oh, this is what their definition of a relationship is, which is very different from your own. How do you handle it?
Definitely it's different values and culture and all, but we can't impose what we think onto them. But I think through the questioning and what is it that they want, we kind of get them to think for themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, we were talking a little bit more about that shared responsibility between both parties, and you say that sometimes, in some cases, of course, you've got both of them who decide to go on, continue to have the baby, and sometimes one party is absent. But the truth is, we don't hear much. I mean, we don't hear of teenage dads.
Yeah.
We hear of teenage moms
All the time because it's visible. Because when a girl is pregnant, you obviously know that she's a teenage mom, but you can't tell that the teenage boy is a dad.
Yeah.
But we do have we have service. I mean, we have supported the dads. It's just a handful. Well, the dads are the ones who took on the responsibility to care for the child.
Yeah. I mean, I might be stereotyping here, but it seems like the boys always tend to just leave the girls after they find out that they're pregnant.
Not
Or is that
all.
just what happens on TV too much?
Not all.
Not
We do have partners who are supportive. Yeah, so some of them do accompany them for prenatal checks, and for those who are working, some of them do try to support while they can. Yeah.
And do you give advice to the girls who who unfortunately do not get the support from from the natural fathers of their babies?
So I mean, they do have their family members or their friends to support them. Yeah, in this journey.
Okay. Actually, I think this is quite an important question, which is there any way for teenage parents to create a healthy relationship with each other and, with their child?
The truth is, if they are not together, most likely it has ended quite badly. Yeah, so it's unlikely that they will kind of still want to have that visiting rights or even check out, even support or have that maintenance for the child. Yeah, so as with adults, it kind of mirrors the same. It's just that for teens, yeah.
I mean, has there ever been a situation where, one party maybe just freaks out, but then after kind of learning more about what it really is, then they sort of come back and...
They might, but we don't see many of that. Yeah.
And how do you effectively communicate that it should be a shared responsibility?
Yeah, I guess it's hard to have that shared responsibility when the boy himself is not earning. Yeah, because if you're looking at responsibility, what are we looking at? Is it caring for the child? So are you actually staying with the girl and the child to begin with? Yeah, and if you're a student, where does maintenance come from? Yeah, if you're not working. Yeah.
So what can the boys do then?
So I mean, if the boy is prepared to be supportive, then that's where they could or may have plans to settle down. Yeah. If not, then they could be already visit. I mean, the boy could be supporting the girl by visiting the child regularly. Yeah. So that there's this relationship. Yeah.
Okay, this part where we want to move into is the reactions, right? Because you talk about how some parents of these pregnant teens call the hotline as well, and me also being a parent of two young kids, we talk about it among our friends as well. Like, what if one day my child comes home and tells me that he or she is becoming a mom or dad? Like, how should I react to that?
Yeah, it's definitely tough because there'll be shock and then denial. Because I think for most parents, we may or may not have touched on the subject with our kids. Yeah, so even if you might have, say it 10,000 times, things still happen.
Yes.
So definitely there is that shock and denial, like, why my child? Yeah, so even I have done this, but why? Yeah, so I mean, we do see a lot of that. Yeah, but at the end of the day is how do we support our child in the collective decision? Yeah, because we know that our child may not be able to do this on her own or his own. Yeah, so how can we support by hearing what he or she thinks?
So what is your advice?
So I mean, we would get them to speak to their child if we could. Yeah, to understand the situation. And of course, probably also speak to the other party.
When you mean speak to, what are we talking about? Like,
So
what questions should we be asking, or what should we be talking to them
So the
about?
practical approach is really to verify that pregnancy
Right.
for a start, because I think some things are time sensitive depending on what is that decision. And of course, I think being Asians, we also want to take responsibility. But really, is marriage the best way? It may or may not be, because I mean there are situations where we have seen, right? I mean, a couple gets the lady gets pregnant and then they decide to marry, but along the way they might divorce because I mean they may not be best suited for each other. So what is it that you could see through? I mean, as a couple, yeah, that has to be discussed together with family, because it's not just the two kids that can make that decision.
So when we talk to our kids, first of all, it's to verify the pregnancy.
Yeah, like how did it happen? Like, have you? Yeah, but of course it's fact finding a little.
Okay, and then followed by.
And then also to allay their fears, right? It's okay. I mean, I'm glad you're sharing this with me. Yeah, so that they won't feel afraid to share further or take things matters into their own hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
After that, if we could speak to the other party, yeah, because I mean, usually it's a bit of like family mediation. Even when we do our casework, we do work with the parents and the extended family if necessary, so that it's more holistic.
would you advise them then, because it can be a bit confrontational?
Yes,
So
it is.
wouldn't you advise the parents to actually come to someone neutral to be able to do that?
Yeah, so I mean,
mediation?
we would work through so that we could have a session together, ideally. But it takes a while at times, because I mean, the child may be afraid to tell the other parent. So if the kids are still talking, for example, then we could get them to check in with their parents, and if they're open to having a session together. Because I think, like what you mentioned, having a third party is more neutral.
Yes.
Yeah, but some may not be receptive to having a third party coming in. So we work around it and see what they're most comfortable with. Yeah.
Any other things is that if me as a parent today, and if I hear a news like that, what else can I do?
Yeah, I mean, we don't blame, for sure. I mean, we will always, want to why, and probably scold the child, but that's not what they want to hear. I think what will be more shocking is that you are supportive. Yeah, and that is probably what they actually do need. Yeah.
I can't imagine what I would do. Can you?
I can't, but I mean, we all start preventive, right? I mean, these days, like really starting young. Yeah. On like, what's good touch, bad touch, consent. And I think parenting has evolved over the years as well. Probably during our time, our parents don't even talk to us about it, nor our sex ed in school teach us about it. Yeah, but these days it has evolved, and yeah, it's definitely much more informational. So things are progressing.
How has the sex ed evolved? Because you just mentioned
Yeah,
it.
so now, I mean, during my time, it was just puberty. That's what I remember about the video. Yeah,
Right.
But now it actually starts from P5. Yeah, so they have sex education lessons that is being taught by the teachers. So all the way till JC level. So every year it's about probably 3 hours of sex ed.
Oh, what is it like?
As for the specific curriculum, I'm not quite sure into the details, but they have broken it down based on age-appropriate content.
Oh.
Yeah, so it covers a holistic, from like things like relationship, consent. Yeah, but of course, I think in the curriculum it's still about abstinence, because I mean, it's not all about the physical act of sex itself, but the entire holistic sex ed as a whole. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's also very useful, because some of us might not know the right language to use.
Yes, it is. And I guess in today's context, we would want to encourage parents to use the right words. Yeah, rather than using a substitute. Yeah.
Do you have any examples of like a definite no sort of language or way we should be talking about this with our kids?
I think as long as it's age appropriate,
Right.
yeah, which is more important, because I think sometimes we may be afraid of telling them something that is not age appropriate, and then it's like, you talk about sex but it's not at the right age, then it encourages them to probably go find out more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I struggle
yes.
with this too, because like sometimes you think they are very mature when they're actually not.
Mhm.
And then you don't know how much they know also from, their
And
circle
what
of
they
friends.
see as well, right?
And because, their circle of friends are also sort of, being influenced by different things, and they're hearing things and they may not necessarily be sharing it with us.
Yes.
So I do think it's kind of challenging. Like, do you have any tips for me?
Probably for myself as well. I mean, I've
Yeah.
got 2 young kids as well. I guess it's having the open, regular communication.
Right.
And at opportunities, I mean, at specific moments, I mean, when you see like on TV, if there are kissing scenes or hugging scenes, these are learning moments. So we do not specifically sit down and talk about it. But when we are watching shows or when it's around, you have these moments to talk and teach them about it. Of course, as they get older,
Yeah, like I can watch a musical and then I see the two like characters kissing. And I'm like, so what should I do? Like, how should I react? Right? Because it's like a Disney musical. And then you're like, okay, like, and you don't want to overreact or draw like the wrong attention to it.
So I mean, for kissing scenes, you could also, I mean, at least what I speak to my girl and my boy, like, where do you kiss that's appropriate? Yeah, who can you kiss? And of course, when you want to kiss someone or when somebody want to kiss you, you can actually say no. Yeah, so that at least they're comfortable with rejecting. Not everything is a yes.
Right. Yeah, because this is one of the things that I'm also kind of unclear about. Even sometimes in the books that they read, they've got like high school romance kind of a thing, like this boy's cute and that, and I mean for my daughter at least, right? And then I'm like, like, do you want like if you try to ban the book, it gets them more curious, right?
Yes, correct.
And then they might do it behind your back.
Yes.
And then if you don't ban the book, they continue to buy like, volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're like, so what should I do?
That's where the conversations could happen. I mean, what if? I mean, you could have that kind of conversation.
Okay, tell me, what is that conversation that I should be having?
So I mean, my girl and my boy, they always like, I want to marry each other, when I'm older. But it's like, no, you can't because you're siblings.
Okay.
Yeah, then after that, I mean, we talk about boyfriend, girlfriends. I mean, they're really young, like 7 and 5.
Yes.
So it is the age is getting much lower now.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's this conversations, but of course not going too far because I'm mindful of their age.
Right.
Yeah. So I would go a bit like, what's a boyfriend, girlfriend? Who is your boyfriend in school? Who's a girlfriend? And then from there you get an understanding. What does it mean by boyfriend, girlfriend?
Right.
Yeah.
And if it's something you don't agree with, for example, like, like there's this boy or this girl or, in school that I really like, I want to hold her hand, I want to kiss her, and like that sort of thing, for example.
Yeah.
Then what do you do? What do you say?
So my boy, he's 5. He has a close friend, in school that he knows how to spell his name, but not mine. I mean, he spells her name, but doesn't know how to spell mine.
No, heartbreaking.
Yeah, correct. So I mean, it's just I'll check in with him like, how about other girls?
Right.
Yeah, do you actually hold their hands as well and stuff like that? Because I think at that age, holding hands and lining up is something that it's
not quite what we think it is.
Correct. Yeah. So kind of not overreacting. Yeah. So I mean, I also neutralize it and not tease him too much about it. Yeah. Because sometimes you might overdo it if you always tease about that particular girl or boy.
I mean, are you afraid actually yourself personally?
I guess there could be a bit of this fear. I mean, I'm in this line, right? So it's like quite, so what if it happens to me? I'm also not sure how I react, but I guess with the experience and how things are, it's really probably just having the open mind and keeping communication open all the time.
Right.
Yeah, because I think as we get busy with life and as our kids grow up, we might miss such conversations. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that the teenage fathers, for example, do you think there's less of a social stigma attached to them than to the girls?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, because I mean, it's not widely reported as well. And it's not visible, you can't tell. So unlike the girls, they receive it much harder. I mean, for the girls. Yeah, whereas for the boys, unless they are seen with a young kid, which is very, very rare. Yeah, so definitely fingers won't be on them.
But even then, even if they are seen with a young kid, what they are facing is very much different from the girls, I'm sure.
Yes,
Right?
and of course for the girls, they have it much longer. I mean, you carry a child for like 10 months. Each time you go to the clinic, yeah, all eyes will be on you.
So what do you think we can do about that? Or if there's even anything we can do about that?
So I guess I think parents should also play an important role as much as school has sex education, but parents also should have their open conversations, because we do have our teens who say that, their parents tell them, very subtly about sex, like, don't do anything funny. But what is don't do anything funny? Yeah, I mean, we don't have that kind of conversations.
Like you're not specific enough, is it? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Like, don't do anything funny.
Correct.
What does funny mean?
Exactly. So even in terms of like even sex education in school, I guess there are different schools who have done it differently. Yeah. So I mean, I've heard of a school who actually talk about pornography openly. So they have the entire school with pornography, and then they have open discussion. So having that safe space for such open conversation is actually important, because we can be on our devices and searching and finding for stuff, but how accurate is that? And from which source? And our media is usually,
Oops, I'm in the line of the media.
Singapore media is still alright. Yeah, I mean, it's quite controlled lah. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I do think we don't talk about it enough.
Yes.
I suppose that's probably why this International Women's Day, I've dedicated 3 episodes to all, somehow it's got something to do with our female anatomy. Because I really think that if you don't talk about it openly, then you're not normalizing it.
Yes, and it's also the knowledge and awareness. I mean, about
Yes.
our entire reproductive health, for example. Yeah, so I mean, it's starting young.
Yeah.
I mean, even for us, I mean, for ladies, we start with periods, right? And then
Yes.
like, then what's next, and we go on. But as a young girl now, I think you could start a bit further. Yeah, they could also see a gynae at a much younger age, not until when something happens.
Yes.
So really understanding your body and yourself.
Yeah, I think empowering women, I think mothers, to be able to empower their girls who would then be able to make informed decisions for themselves as they
Yes.
navigate the from this girlhood to being a young woman. I mean, have you noticed the reactions that some of the parents of these pregnant teens have reacted to the news? Like any anecdotes to share?
So the very extreme ones are they chase them out of the house. Yeah, so that has happened. So the teen will have to probably find either her extended family or her friends, and then stay each one a few days and all. After some time, I mean, depending whether they really do need accommodation, then I mean there is actually social service agencies like Safe Place who support pregnant ladies, but that's the extreme end. So eventually it may take some time that the parent might allow the girl to come back, but their relationship could still be very rocky. But the mother or father is able to provide at least a roof above, for her. Yeah.
So we talk about one pretty extreme case. Is there any positive or a case that you've seen also?
So the positive one, I mean, definitely the girl is still with them, and then the parent would probably be supportive in terms of even caring for the child. So we do have, for example, some grandmothers who kind of quit their job to care for the grandchild. Yeah. So this is how, I mean, if the many helping hands come together with that supportive environment, the girl will actually be able to thrive. Yeah. So support is very, very important.
I do think that it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
And in every sense of that word, from home to even the community.
In the school
Yeah.
and all.
Yeah, I do think so. And even for the public, for us, when like you talk about how when someone spots a young lady with 2 kids or maybe with a big belly,
Yeah.
that look and that.
It's that look. So even sometimes, even without speaking, just the body language.
Yeah, it's if they don't have to put up with that look, I think it's also something that one less thing they have to deal with.
Yeah, because I mean, it's easy to say, don't care about what others think. But I mean, when you're in that situation, and sometimes you really do need someone to at least help you, maybe like to manage the pram or even load onto the taxi. But people are just judging you instead of stepping forward to help.
Yeah. So how do you think we can raise awareness with regards to teenage pregnancy?
So I mean, there's a lot of ways. I think as an individual, I mean, let's be non-judgmental. Yeah, because whether it's a teen mom or any lady, I mean, who's with a kid or pregnant, I think we should be neutral about it. And of course, having open conversations. I mean, if we have, like, for example, my friends, right? I mean, we are the same age. So, I mean, I do share about my work. So really sharing at every available opportunity. So at this point in time, we are working with the different stakeholder groups. It can be the teens themselves, parents, organizations. So we kind of hit the different age group. Yeah, so that at least there's this awareness.
So, okay, if today I'm one of your girlfriends and then you're sharing about your work with me, what would you be telling me?
So I do have girlfriends who have kids of the same age. So I would encourage them to start young, to have that open conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, my friend did share that her child is in primary school and they have a group chat these days. And the things that they circulate in there is really quite alarming. So being involved.
They meaning the kids?
The kids, yeah.
Oh.
So that's why devices.
In primary school, they have a phone? What do you mean?
Yeah, so I mean, it really varies.
Okay. So they have a group chat. And what are they circulating?
So there was porn being circulated in there.
What?
Yeah.
How old are we talking about?
Upper primary. Yeah, so that's where the parents' involvement and communication is important. And what's in their device, what are they looking at? So I mean, these days there's all this tag, right, where you can block like age-appropriate content. But
so then how? But they're in that group, and then if you as the parent spot that they are receiving such,
so you probably need to speak to the teacher or report it. So it's
so
teens
hard.
or rather students, youth, they are talking about it, but is that environment safe with someone there to intervene and guide?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so hard.
Yeah, and with devices, if you do a search, it will keep feeding you whatever that you have.
Yes,
searching,
yes.
Right? Yeah, so it kind of doesn't stop. So that's where, I mean, if you're looking at, tag, this is what's happening on the social media platform. So as parents, there has to be that involvement and open communication.
Right.
And of course, I think at the systems level, I mean, if we are aware of, there's always things that we could work with the ministries on certain issues. Yeah, so for example, if we look at reproductive health or rather healthcare as a whole. So in schools, we are already having all these health checks and all. So how else can we also start earlier? Yeah, because I think even for puberty, it could be happening at a much younger age now, unlike in the past, we're probably in upper primary. Yeah, so how can we also educate our girls? Because I think in the Singapore system, how we are is we know as much as what we receive. Yeah, so I mean, and most of the time we are in school. So I mean, if school could also have that safe environment and have that open conversations, that will be helpful. Yeah.
Do you think we're doing enough?
We have progress, I would say, as compared to then. Yeah, so slowly, and of course with the generation, we'll probably need to, catch up.
What do you think is an important issue that about teenage pregnancy that should be made more known to the public?
I think for teenagers being a mom, it's really a lot of struggle. So I think we should recognize their strength, that they have gone through so much. Because I mean, being a teen, probably you're still a child, but you have to take on the role of a mother to care for someone who is not that much older not that much younger from you. Yeah, so I think we have to give them that respect. Because as adults, if we find the parenthood journey so tough, let alone a teen if she doesn't have support. Yeah, and if you're looking at support, it's like no social support, no financial support, but she is there and she wants to make it work. Yeah, so we should support her in that journey. Yeah.
I mean, I have heard, but I'm not sure what exactly it is, but I have heard that single moms can find it very hard to access, for example, like subsidies for like education and certain
So that has improved over
certain
the years.
benefits or something, right?
So I mean, there's the cash gift.
Yeah.
So I mean that applies if you are not married, you do not get a cash gift, but you still have that $3,000 base. But I guess with the budget these days, there's a bit of improve, so they don't get more than that.
Right.
Yeah, and of course, I think what has improved is the housing. In the past, for single moms, you kind of can't apply, but that has improved. So now, as long as you're 21 years and above, you can actually apply for housing.
If you're a single mom.
Yeah, correct.
Well, what else? What other examples?
The other one would be, for example, subsidy at childcare. So in the past, it was like a chicken and egg thing, right? If you cannot find work, you can't get subsidy as a working mom. But then if you don't have the opportunity to find that work, then how does it go? So these days there is a gap. That means they allow you a period before you can find work, and they still allow you to have that subsidy. Yeah, because without the subsidy, you can't put your child. It's going to be very, very high. And of course, I guess if we are looking at employment, it's good that, employers these days are more understanding. And with COVID, it helps that there is work from home. But of course, depending on the education level that they have, they may or may not have the skill to probably find white-collar jobs. So what does that mean is that they probably have to go out to work. Yeah, so I mean, just now earlier when I shared the part about the economic struggles, yeah, so this is what happens if you are unable to complete your studies, be able to gain a skill. So that has an impact on how you'll be able to even care for your child.
You know, when you want to put your kid up for adoption, is it only for unplanned pregnancies?
If it's planned pregnancy, you will not be planning to put your child for adoption. Right?
Oh, as in you can be it can be an unplanned pregnancy but married but unplanned pregnancy also.
Okay. Yeah, it's possible as long as Singaporean.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then for Singaporeans to adopt.
Oh, so that one, there is an agency that they could go through. So you actually need to do the home assessment report and all to assure that you're able to care for the child.
Oh,
so
I
there's a
see.
list of requirements before one can take on adoption. Yeah,
Right.
be it local or overseas,
And adoption means that now the parental rights
belongs to you.
belongs to us. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, curious.
But on the other side, I mean, for the work that we do, because for most of them are unplanned pregnancy and they are not married, there is also the illegitimate child. So I mean, what this means is that should you get married in future and you don't will your inheritance to your illegitimate child, he or she will not get your inheritance because it was born out of wedlock. Yeah.
Wow, this one, say again. My brain is not working. Wait, just I don't know.
Yeah,
If
so
you're
this is just for general information, because I mean, usually for inheritance, right? If a couple is married and the child, naturally by inheritance law, it will go to your spouse and your child. But if it's born out of wedlock, meaning it's an illegitimate child,
Right.
that means it will not automatically go to the child unless you put it in your will.
Right.
So that is something which I think some of our teens or single parents, they do not have the knowledge on that. Yeah, so that's where the part about will writing or sometimes even wanting to. So there are people who do adopt their own child. Yeah, so if you adopt your child, you already have parental rights. So that's where it automatically goes to your child in the event if anything happens and you don't have a will.
Right. You mean you can be single and you can adopt your own child?
Yes, because it's your own child, but of course you need to go through all the paperwork and whatnot. Yeah, so that is the other part of it, which we are also educating our teen moms about it. Yeah.
Do you have any ongoing projects now in or campaigns?
So this year is actually our 10th year. Yeah,
Wow.
with Babes. I mean, for 10-year anniversary for Babes. So I mean, we do have a IWD Women at Babes. So we're actually featuring 10 women. They could be our volunteers, donors, service users, and all. Yeah, so stay tuned to our weekly post on the women that make Babes who we are today.
Okay, and what else are you doing to help raise awareness for
So
this
we
group
are
of young
also
women?
hoping to work with schools, because now, I mean, with COVID restrictions lifted, we do want to go into schools to work with the students to share awareness. We also do have our drama workshops that we work closely with youth at risk. So about like 8 to 15 girls where we do group setting workshops.
What is the workshop like?
So it's a drama workshop. So we will have a girl that will take on the role of a pregnant teen, and then the participants will get to ask her questions. So it's a bit of like stimulation, like, if they are the girl, then what will you advise her?
Oh,
So this can be pretty emotional because some of them do identify with the girl. So it's a bit dramatized, but it speaks to them.
and the participants are all pregnant teens.
They may not be. So they could be in relationships or are sexually active.
Oh,
Yes.
And where do they come
So we
from?
work with schools and organizations for that. Yeah. So in the past, this has been the model, working with probably youth at risk. But now with restrictions lifted, we hope to work with the youth at large. Yeah. So we're starting with girls first because, I mean, this is a group that we are familiar with. Over time, we do hope to work with boys as well. Yeah. So, I mean, apart from this outreach, I mean, what we have is also, at least these days, there's a lot more activities. So we are also participating in booths and fairs out there to share the word with the adults and members of the public. Yeah, so that's where, how can we be more empathetic? Yeah, and also support those in need in this way.
I mean, what is a typical day like for you at work?
So
I'm curious.
if we're looking at our case management team, a typical day could be contacting our teens. So they contact a lot via text. So it's texting them, calling them, and trying to arrange meeting them on site. Yeah, because I mean, depending on which phase they're at. So for those who have just delivered, we also want to visit them to see how they're doing and coping. Yeah, so and of course, if there are days where we have outreach events, then probably we'll be out running, standing at the booth, sharing about our work. That could take about half a day. And of course, not forgetting the paperwork. Yeah, with all that. Yeah.
Do you have enough manpower?
So there are 9 of us. So we have 3 staff at case management, and then the other 5 at corporate, I mean, including myself. So I mean, I don't do casework, but I mean, I do support the case management team and also working with different partners.
I mean, does it ever get emotional for the caseworkers?
It does, because I think at times, sometimes they do have to accompany them for the abortion procedure, for example, and that is something that can be quite emotional. Yeah.
I see. Sounds like it's a really difficult job, but an important one.
Yes, because I think being there to have someone to support them is important. And of course, sometimes, I mean, should the child be premature, then the teen has to actually travel to the hospital daily, I mean, if they want to breastfeed. So these are some of the challenges that they face. Yeah. So, I mean, that's where there's a lot of resilience from the girls, where they've kind of decided on what they want and they see through it.
Yeah. So in a sense, you really have to prep them for what to expect.
Yes.
If you choose this path.
Yeah. So that the visualization of what would it be like. So when you're talking about caring for the baby, how is it like? It's not just, right? Probably you need to change the diaper, wake up for feeds and stuff like that. So these are things we kind of prep them on what it could look like. Yeah. And then imagine yourself, how would a day be like? Yeah.
Wow, this is hard. I think this is really hard. What is your biggest satisfaction then from this work that you do?
I guess seeing that they actually are able to see through what we have agreed on in the care plan for them. Yeah. And they work through it and care for the child. Yeah.
I think from chatting with you, end of the day, whether or not they choose to go ahead with the pregnancy, the important thing is respecting their decision.
Yes.
I mean, who are we to say that this is the right thing or the wrong thing to do, right?
Yes.
I think every one of them have got different family situations and things that they have to consider, right, when it comes to making that decision.
Yeah.
So it's always easy for us to, stand at the sideline and say that, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But really, I guess it could happen to actually our kids too.
Yes, anyone.
And anyone, and it could be a close friend as well. It could be someone we know. So I think it's important that we build more empathy, and we're more compassionate towards this group of young women.
Yeah, not blaming.
And of course, I don't want to not talk about the boys as well, because I do think that it's important to involve the boys in the conversation. After all, it takes two to clap.
Yes.
Right. And we both have sons, and I mean, our sons could be the ones making us grandmothers at a young age. I don't know, right? I mean, so I think
always fall on the girls.
Yeah. So I think we shouldn't also always just focus on the girls, even the education part. I think it's also important that we shift our attention to the boys as well, and to help them be aware of what could happen. So anything that you want to share that you hope that more of us can know about?
Yeah, so I mean, I do think if we look at teenage pregnancy, like what you mentioned, it takes two to clap. And of course, I think if you're looking at support, it takes a whole village, like what you mentioned. And of course, it's also the many helping hands approach, that we can't do this alone. Yeah, so I mean, we will need the support of the partner, the parents, and the systems. And when I talk about systems, it include things like the schools, the policies. So all these have to come into play in order for things to move. Yeah, so even as much as we may be open to, for example, supporting, like just now you mentioned about, you were asking about single parents, right? Like how has policy shifted? All this takes time to shift, because the policy can change, but are people prepared for what's to come? Yeah, and are we ready to move things together? So I mean, if we look at the shift in supporting, or rather the stigma of teen pregnancy, that has improved over time. And with that, we could probably have more open conversations. And I guess with this generation of parents, and maybe when our kids become parents, that will also shift for sure. Yeah, so the information and knowledge will just increase and probably be shared at a much earlier age. Yeah, unlike to what we were exposed now, or what kids are experiencing at this point in time. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose there's also a little bit of fear that comes with showing support, because there could also be this notion that if I were to support, it means I'm condoning it. I mean, do you think that is the case?
So I mean, we can be very specific in what we are supporting. So I mean, what we want to focus on is empowering the individual on the decision. Yeah, and how can we help her succeed? Yeah, so I mean, we are there to show that kind of support. Yeah, in the decision making. Yeah, because I mean, we will not bear to let the person fail, because what we're looking at is a young individual, or even with her child. Yeah, so as a society, as a community, this is what we are working towards, having that empathy and support.
When you mean fail, you mean fail in...
Fail as in not giving her that support. So for example, if she wants to go back to school, but it makes it very, very hard. If she has to go, I mean, for example, if her peers are discriminating her and the teacher is not supportive, for example, that is not what we want. Because I mean, we're looking at an inclusive society here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I suppose in this case, it has already happened, right?
Yes.
And so instead of blaming and judging and saying you should have, I mean, if they had known, I'm sure, they wouldn't come to this point.
I mean, it's unplanned.
Right, it's unplanned. I mean, there's a reason why it's unplanned, right? So instead of all that, it's really showing that support, and it doesn't necessarily mean that if I support, I'm saying that you should do it. It's not the same meaning.
Yes, it's different.
And I think we can learn to sort of differentiate that, and if we learn to differentiate that, then it would help us also learn to build more compassion, and understand that we can support someone without it being us saying, oh, you can go ahead and just do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is the line that we can draw as well, and that we can sort of learn to break through. Because I do realize that many of us have this thought, right? That if you were to support, you are condoning, and then because of that, then you just withhold your support.
Yes, correct. Because I mean, we do have some donors who, when they hear that we also support termination abortion, some of them don't. So I mean, we do respect that as well, because as individual, we all have different values. Yeah. So I mean, it's good to be clear on what is that support.
Right.
Yeah, but at least we do get that message out that, this is the group that we are supporting, and it's in different ways. And how are you comfortable in supporting in your own way?
Yeah. That's also one very important thing, because all of us have different values.
Yes.
And we would feel more comfortable about certain things and uncomfortable about others. And there's no right or wrong.
Yes.
Right? It's just how we all are. And whatever it is that we decide that, we want to be respected, right? And I think in the same way for them as well, for the young girls, that they want to be respected too.
And it's their choice, their decision. And I mean, at the end of the tunnel, there'll always be light. So things will work out.
Yeah, things will work out. I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing this, very delicate topic that we're talking about here. Well, where can our listeners find you if they, need help, know of someone who need help?
Yeah, so I mean, if you just Google Babes Pregnancy Crisis Support, that's where you could find us.
Okay.
Or teenage pregnancy, we will appear on the feed. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I guess if you like this episode, please remember to hit thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. An audio version of this podcast is also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and the links are in the description below. Now, if you have any comments about what we've talked about today, please feel free to write them in the comments below, or you can also DM us on Instagram. You know where to find us at What Does Joanne Knows, or you can also hit me up personally at Joanne Pay. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.